Hey everyone, Nick from ResoNix Sound Solutions here with another competitor spotlight. This time on Mr. Marc Bruno. Marc, where are you from? What are you doing here? What do you got?
What am I doing here? That's a great question.
Yeah, all the way in Texas.
From the Monterey Peninsula in California, Central Coast.
Okay.
And we're here for Aggieland.
Cool. What do you got here?
This is a 2019 Challenger Red Eye wide body.
Okay. So this is your competition car.
Yeah.
You have a little bit of fun with this, I hear.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
what do you have going on in this trunk that a lot of people have been talking about?
There's not much going on in there, Nick.
Okay. Yeah, no, there isn't. There's not a lot going on in here.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, let's just wrap this up. We'll go into So what is actually going on in here? This is wild.
Yeah, so these are obviously Arc Audio SE amplifiers. We've got a 24-inch stereo integrity IB subwoofer. We had Nick from Stereo Integrity send us a dust cap out early so we can kind of match the theme that's going on in the car, which basically is hear no evil. You can see kind of the guy right in the middle, the skull. Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. You've seen that. So we kind of latched on to the hear no evil part of it and kind of made that a
hear no evil. Yeah.
Hear no evil.
Pretty funny.
Kind of funny, right?
Yeah. But you got all the carbon fiber.
Yeah, so we've got honeycomb carbon fiber kind of throughout the car. It's, you know, in the back seat, it's on the dash, you'll see that. It's on the body kit that goes around the car. We've done quite a few parts underneath the hood. The air suspension parts are done with this same plum crazy purple with, it's basically a hydro dipped pattern.
Okay.
Because everybody asks if that's paint or whatever, it's all hydro dipped, so you can see, you know, kind of carried
I can picture you sitting there with your little paintbrush.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm very artistic actually. It's a little known fact, a little known, you know, trivia thing about,
Okay.
Actually, out of high school, I had a chance to go to Parsons in New York.
Should have came.
You know,
could have been friends.
They didn't have a baseball team. That's why I didn't go. I was a weird kind of kid that way, right?
So, why?
Why a 24?
Why?
IB?
Yeah.
Well, I have loved IB subwoofers forever. Like, I competed way back in the late 80s and 90s. I had a car with a pair of 12s, IB into the trunk.
Okay.
I love the idea of being able to get better extension.
Okay.
And you don't need a ton of power to get it.
Yeah, I don't know if this is extension. This is more so, you know, seismic activity, I think. Little fun fact. Actually, I was here in Texas, and New York just got hit with their first earthquake ever.
Yeah.
And I live like 15 minutes away from the fault.
From the epicenter?
I missed my first earthquake, and I'm kind of upset. I know that's like horrible to say, but I've always kind of wanted to feel what it was like.
That was 4.7. That's not even an earthquake by our standards. I mean, that's like,
well, it's still
cool.
Did you
feel that? That's me falling out of a chair in my living room.
You know, we don't have any crazy shit like that going on in New York.
But we have lots of crazy shit going on.
Yeah,
just
but not like that.
Crazy shit.
Yeah, not fault line crazy shit.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like why a 24-inch? Like, what's really going on here?
So
clearly you don't need it, but you're not about needs.
What does need have to do with it, right?
Yeah.
No, the idea with the 24-inch woofer is, for me, one, it's one speaker, which makes it easier to tune, more predictable. Two, with all that cone area, which is the equivalent of like 412s in cone area.
Okay.
It doesn't need to move a lot to create a lot of low bass.
So you get lower distortion.
And it doesn't localize as easy. So you don't get that tactile response at low and middle volumes. Obviously, as you turn it up, it's going to move things and shake things and all that.
Yeah, I think this thing will shake a few things.
But being a carbon fiber cone, it's super light. It's, you know, very responsive.
Cool.
So I'm actually really impressed with the bass and the way we were able to integrate it.
And you guys even went as far as like etching it into the cover panel. This is crazy. Crazy.
Yeah, and that's another theme that we've kind of carried throughout. So you'll see under the hood is where that started, and then I'm like, well, we could carry that pattern into the.
Well, show me under the hood.
You want to see that?
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Don't want to hit the car now.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, you got it everywhere.
Yeah, so that was kind of the idea, you know. One of my buddies bought a Red Eye after I got mine. He fell in love with the car and how it ran, but one of the things he said was, you know, these Challengers can go from bone stock with a 6-cylinder in it to, this is close to 800 horsepower.
Oh, wow.
And you can do a lot of custom things with it. And that's kind of what we wanted to do with it. Yeah, you can kind of see the little details.
There. Oh my, yeah, there's a lot of small little details in here. This is pretty neat. Wow. Well, we're not here to talk about the engine now. So why don't we hop inside the car?
You got it.
And see what we got going on in here. I see a bunch of stuff in the back. Oh yeah, this is where all the air suspension stuff is.
Yeah. I actually have a light I can turn on in here.
It actually sees it pretty well.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah, it adjusts the exposure.
You know, Brian would get mad at me if I don't turn a light on.
All right, turn the light on.
I'm kidding. Hey, Brian.
We love you, Brian. It's okay. We know you'll get upset, but oh yeah,
it helps a little bit, not much, huh?
It's pretty neat though.
Yeah.
Look at that, and you even have your seats redone.
Yep. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, you even have the doors redone. You know, everything's redone in here.
Yep. Yep.
Look at this. All right, so let's hop in. So, I actually just came over and said hello to you. I've actually realized I've never seen the front of this car. Was it always like this?
Yeah. Yeah.
What the hell is going on here?
So those are Bollinger Grabner ribbon mid-ranges.
Okay.
So they're doing the bulk of the work in this car. We're running from roughly 200 hertz on up to the tweeter, which right now is around 3,500 hertz.
Okay.
So we're basically covering the entire vocal range out of one driver. If you know anything about ribbons, they're extremely low distortion. You know, I like to call them fast, not that they're playing frequencies that are faster than they're supposed to, but they can start and stop faster than a regular conical speaker.
They have good impulse response.
Exactly. Super good impulse response, right? So that's the reason I chose them. I fell in love with them a long time ago. Did a project with Eclipse way back when, where we met with Bollinger Grabner, decided to try to do something in a car, and then I left before they were delivered, and so I've always had this itch to put them in a car and make them do what they can do. Yes, you can see the carbon fiber through here, steering wheel.
Wow.
Which is crooked, but
that's all right.
And then there are mid-bass 8-inch Focal Utopia M mid-bass drivers way up high underneath the dash in the kick panels. So you might be able to get a shot of those. They're way up like on that left-hand side. They're mounted this way, Nick.
I can't even see.
They're mounted like this.
I was pointing over there.
Yeah, you're in the vicinity, but they're up really high.
Okay.
So the idea was to get them as close to the mid-range as we can, so you don't have as much time alignment, kind of like lining up a speaker.
So let me ask you this. What are the so I want to ask you a couple things. And I want to tell you an interesting story, but I'll get to that after. I understand the benefits of putting the mid-bass up higher and closer to your other drivers. What are the cons here? Because clearly you're having the dash block a lot of it.
Yeah, right? So once you start to get to frequencies that are more directional, the dash is going to absorb them.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a mid-range that can get down far enough to make that kind of a nice meeting of the two, then you're going to have problems. You're going to have holes, things you can't fix.
Yeah.
So it's important to have a driver that, you know, can do what you want it to do down low, but also be able to mate with your mid-range.
Okay.
So that's the biggest thing. And the left and right speakers are going to do different things because the dashes are different underneath there. So you've got the air conditioning.
So is that like something that you found has proven to be a bit of a challenge, or not really?
Well, I mean, it's a challenge in that when you're tuning, it's different than if you're tuning something in the kick panels where they've got a direct access out to you and you can play them higher. Yeah. So you might be crossing them over at a little steeper slope.
This fly is
we got a Texas.
Almost got him.
Yeah.
All right, forget him.
Yeah, exactly. He'll die probably right up behind that speaker up there. That's where they all go to die.
Yeah.
You can't get to him.
Right up there.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I have another question that's similar to that last one. You mentioned the pros of a ribbon mid-range.
Yep.
What are the cons to something like this? Because obviously outside of like the size of it, it seems more like you're not really too concerned about that because this is more of a show car, right?
Yeah, exactly. If I had a daily driver and I live somewhere like here where it gets really hot in the summertime, I don't know. These are home speakers.
Yeah.
They're 6 ohms, so they're pretty flexible in a car, but I don't know how they'll hold up over time.
Yeah.
That would be the biggest concern I would have if I was putting these particular ones in.
This car lives in a garage?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, it would be a little bit of a problem, I think. What about acoustically? What are the acoustical problems? I'm just guessing here, the sheer size of the diaphragm of it, does it cause any issues with, you know, maybe width narrowing in any way, or not really?
It doesn't seem to. You know, it might be a little harder to get everything tuned just right compared to a conical speaker. On the other hand, what these drivers do, like any line source, their dispersion pattern is going to be this way at almost 180 degrees. But here you're not getting as much information. So you're going to get less reflections off the side of the car and things like that.
Okay.
So it could be beneficial.
Yeah.
And it could hurt. This was kind of a big experiment when we did it.
Yeah. Did it work out?
It just, so far it seems to be working out once I got through some of the issues I had with other equipment in the past. And not the speakers. I mean, this install was redone a year ago.
Really?
And
who did
Teresa just letting us know they're ready for us over there for awards.
Oh, shit.
Well, we'll
wrap
go
up
quick.
in a second.
Yeah, so would I have changed some things? Maybe, but Brian Mitchell talked me into keeping the front end the way it was, change the amps and the processor, because that's really where we were having problems. We couldn't prove whether our issues were with the way these are mounted or not.
Okay.
And it turns out, with the new amps, the processor, and the tuning we have in, the front end sounds way better than it sounded before.
Really?
And to me, that's the biggest surprise in the whole system, is the way the front end sounds now compared to how it was before. I expected the woofer to sound way better and integrate better, but this was the biggest surprise for me.
That's interesting. So I want to tell you a funny story. How I got into sound quality car audio. I came across, just searching Google, randomly came across a picture on Google Images, I think it was, or maybe a post on Google's results or whatever. And I found a build log by a guy, username Bow Down, real name Justin, I know him now, on the DIY mobile audio forums. This is back in 2010 or 2011. And it was, I didn't even know this website existed. And it was his build log for his Ford Focus or something like that, I think it was. And he was using these same exact mid-ranges in his pillars.
Oh, wow.
And I was
this way?
Yeah, they were going with that. And I was just, I was beside myself. I was like I was like, what the hell is going on here? What are these people doing? This is crazy. Like custom, like, not only am I seeing this guy use, I didn't even know those could be speakers at the time, but he's also doing a spare tire well subwoofer enclosure, and come on, you almost had him. God damn it, that little fly.
And of course they're not smart enough to go out the way they came in.
No, of course not. And I'm seeing all this crazy stuff. I'm like, oh my God. So I saw these, and I saw them when I was just peeking through before we even started this video, and it just brought me back. I was like,
that's cool.
My God.
That's way cool.
So that's like pretty neat that I've never seen anyone else use them. And he ended up actually removing them from his car not soon after. Again, I didn't even know who he was at the time. I didn't even know this forum existed. I met him a few years later, and we became buddies. You know, he's from New York also. And it's I thought that was really cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So before we go in for awards, it seems like we have a couple minutes. There's still plenty of people out here.
Sure.
What was this is a crazy install, so there must have been multiple iterations, right? Or just two, like you said?
Well, there's really two iterations of this. So the first time around, it was fairly simple. Since this car has a lot of horsepower, I didn't want to put a bunch of weight in the back of it. Yet I wanted to get serious about the audio side of it. And when I realized, if I'm going to do this, you got to kind of go all in.
Yeah.
So I had two.
You don't have to, but you kind of have to.
If you're going to do it at this level and get as crazy as going halfway across the country for shows and all that, and be serious about competing and being competitive, then you kind of have to go all in, right?
Yeah.
So the first one, we kept the back end really light. I had a pair of 12s IB. I had a real simple air system in the car to raise and lower it, and that made it easier getting on off trailers, and that's kind of how we got to that point of putting air in this car, which people think is crazy.
Okay.
But this is the second. Well, because it's a 800 horsepower car.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I can tell you now, if you don't have the air suspension set up just right, I understand why drag race guys will sometimes go right into the wall, literally off the line right into the wall, because this thing, if you don't have the pressure right, it will go hard right on you. And it hurts. So
let me ask you this. In the multiple iterations that you've had and things that you've done, what is a one piece of information, something that you learned along the way that was sort of like a aha moment that made this car better than what it was previously?
Well, the biggest surprise to me, like I think I said, was the difference changing amplifiers and the processor made to the front end of this car. And I always thought amplifiers made a little difference. They were Moscone. They were great amplifiers, but I think the combination of those amps with the processor that I was using, which was one of the Zapco processors that had some heat issues and all that, they weren't a good mate. I never had enough level. There's not enough output out of that.
Which was a problem with those processors.
So now I've got tons of headroom. There's zero floor noise in this car.
So it's probably more so the processor.
Yeah. So and before this car, I built a Hellcat, which is the first car I ever had processing in. And I had no idea you had all of the adjustability and capabilities with these processors. Because when I was doing this, it was 19 years ago is when I got out of car audio.
Yeah, wow.
That was before. Yeah, exactly. 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 I have a hair older than you, I think. Just not on my head.
That's funny.
Yeah, so I think that was really it, that the amplifiers, even though, the Arc Audio amps, you can kind of trace them back, the SEs are kind of an old school design, but they sound amazing.
Yeah.
And when you combine them with the right equipment, it makes a huge difference. Like, not mixing with somebody else's processor in their processor.
And you were mentioning before you wouldn't expect that much of a change out of amplifiers, and I know there's going to be plenty of people in YouTube comment section.
People are going to be hammering me on that, yeah. And that's why I'm saying it. I was in the car audio business before, and back in the day there were differences in amps, but you really couldn't get it out of a car that easily.
Yeah.
And it was hard to tell. And I am, like I said, 100% blown away by this. And my wife's truck, we ended up doing the same thing. She's got a newer truck, and it's got a 15 in the back now, and we switched over to Class D Arc X2 amplifiers that are also Class D. They have more power, but we have the same speakers in the front of it, and it's kind of the same experience in that, where I always ran into headroom issues and things like that, and noise floor issues. So to me, that's kind of the biggest surprise. I've been around car stereo a long time, so that's something. And then the only other thing would be putting mid-bass drivers where they are in this car. Scott Welsh kind of hit me up on that when I had this car, because he did it in a Charger a long time ago. He goes, dude, that's where you need to put them. And I'm like, dude, that's a lot of work.
And was it a lot of work?
Oh yeah. The dash
was
had to
it
come
worth
off.
it? Oh, dash, yeah. No, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm good.
So this car had 85 miles on it.
And your dash was out?
The whole interior was stripped out of the car. The trunk was stripped and everything.
I love it.
In a $90,000, whatever it was, this car,
So it looks like everyone's inside.
Yeah, we better get our butts in there.
So, Mark, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is awesome.
Pleasure.
This is the coolest freaking car here, probably, in my opinion. And thank you again. I'll see you. You can see you at SVR?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
We'll see you there, man.
Again.
Good seeing you.